Hi, it's Lyle from Made by Marley. Welcome back to our channel. Are you looking to create dreamy, romantic, vintage looks with your furniture? Well, I'm going to show you how I saved this piece from landfill, painted it with Annie Sloan paint, put the Veridis IOD mold on it, and I used the Collage de Fleurs transfer to transform this piece. And there was some gold as well. This is the piece for today. So Martin's just picked up this piece from auction. It just shows you how, I paid money for it, but not a huge amount, and it's the most incredible piece of furniture. It's got a chiffonier top, which is currently in Martin's workshop because it's got a big crack in it. The top has also got a crack in it, so it's going to need filler along the top here. What's so good about it is it's still got its original keys. There's a drawer missing here, but there's not much I can do about that. But it's got like the cutlery, things for cutlery. It's beautiful and it's in really good condition. I know there's a crack in it, but you've got to think about its age. And the cupboards are just, I always like the kind of paper that people put in the cupboards. It's always quite entertaining. I think this has been stuck down as well. Yeah, it's vinyl, so I'll have to get that out of there as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it in. I'm going to
two drawers at the top.
Oh, and it's got like this drawer here and this one here as well. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, that's all right.
Forgot to say about the drawers. Now, my sort of plan was, at first I thought I wasn't going to be doing, because there's enough on it, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the IOD Veridis mold and I'm going to just apply it kind of top and maybe round some of the edges to give me sort of focal points in the three, and when the top dries, some round the top, and then we'll get it base coated up and then we'll start working on it. Today is mostly going to be about, I would imagine probably about the paint. It's going to be about the paint finish really, and at the end we'll put some transfers on it, I think, and make this really beautiful. But wow, look at it. I just said to Martin, I love my job. I am so lucky to save pieces like this, because what happens, this was in a second chance auction, so it was in the original auction and nobody bought it. So then they have a second chance auction, and what happens is they lower it again, and if it doesn't go then, it goes to the landfill.
And I literally put a bid of £40 in.
And Martin's bid was £40. No, it was 50.
That was plus, okay, 50 including the taxes and things.
£50. That's crazy. Nobody wanted it. Why would you not want this? Okay, I understand people maybe don't want the brown anymore and things, but it just has it on its own with nothing done to it right now. I already was excited as soon as I saw it. So that's the plan today. We'll get it in. We'll get this top filled. The top back part is getting dried, and I'll put some of the Veridis molds on it. I'll maybe just show you the mold and just do a couple, and then we'll move on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a wood filler and a palette knife to get into this crack. You want it to slightly prouder than the actual hole, and I'm going to do a bit of cleanup because I don't want all that all over there, but it's just to fill in the hole, because it's quite a bad crack. So, but we can do a lot with paint and camouflage it, but just don't want it so bad as it is. So I'm going to get on. I'm going to do that first. Okay, so if you're new to my channel and you're new to molds, I have a molds 101 video. I'll get Matt to put it up there. My usual subscribers were saying she does that every time, but it's just so that I can quicken up the process, and it goes through right from the beginning stages of molding right through to the end. So I've cast some molds. It's the Veridis mold from IOD. I can show you the actual mold. It's this one here, and I've cast this big one, and I've done two of these little kind of just small parts of leaves. So this has left me with this. To apply my mould, you're going to need a rough brush for your glue, for your moulds, a soft brush and some warm water for cleanup, and some all-purpose thick glue. So I'm going to do this one, and these two will be pretty much, well, as much as I can do, make them similar. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply my glue, and then I'm going to make sure that I get it right to the very edges. And you can see I'm gluing this straight onto the furniture, not onto a painted surface. That's quite important. There we go. Whoop. So let me think how I kind of want this. I think I want it kind of jaunty angle to jaunty angle, if you know what I mean. So bring that in, bring it around. Now, I always think the benefits of using clay over resin are, you couldn't do this with a resin sheet. Well, you can heat your resin up, but it's much easier to do it with clay. Now I'm just using my soft brush, and I'm getting it into all the joints where the glue are. You can also use your brush to kind of pat it down, make sure that it's attached well, get all the bits of glue out of there. I've managed to get a bit of glue on there already. Right, okay, so that one's going there, and the bottom one is going to go the opposite way up. Again, plenty of glue. I mean, you need enough glue to stick it down, but not too much that it's really seeping over the edges. So once you've done a few, you'll get the idea of how much to apply and how much not to, so that you don't get too much kind of seepage. Don't want seepage. Right, and I think what I'm going to do is do this one here like this to kind of give it. This piece is beautiful. It didn't really need, if I'm honest, these moulds, but I think it'll just give it something a little bit more, and what's wrong with that as far as I'm concerned. Right, I just need to make sure that that's pressed up in there. Brush and clean water, and I'm using warm water for my cleanup. Your brush shouldn't be soaking, so just kind of get, and then just make sure that that's all stuck down. And as I say, you can use your brush to kind of help pat it down. You're not going to lose any definition really at that point. Now, that is pretty much what I'm going to do for both sides, but I had, as I said, the spare sort of leaves. I think this leaf is probably going to come off of this one. I just want to kind of extend this down a bit and this up a bit, if that makes sense. One brush. A bit more glue. So I'm going to, once I've done this, I'm just going to repeat the same on the top and on the bottom. Oh, I told you my leaf was going to come off there. So do something like that. And my last leaf I'll have come in like that, or like this. No, like this. I'll clean that up in a minute, and I'll just show you where I'm going to put these other two. I just did a few little kind of on their own ones, just so that I always think it looks better if there's a little bit of movement. If it was a florist, you'd say kind of flyaways, that kind of thing. Try and bring that into there. Tidy that up. If you feel you need to get a clay tool and tidy it up a bit, you can. So that's all I'm going to do on all three sides. So on this side and that side as well. Okay, so the person that had this previously really liked their contact paper. There is so many different varieties and designs on here. Now, it's a little bit of a pain to remove all of this, but the thing is, when you remove it, hang on, I'll just pop this in a bag. I just wanted you to see how much was on it. There's so much of it. Sometimes it can be a nightmare to remove, but if you use a heat tool to soften it up, you'll get it out, no bother. Now, that's gone, but it leaves the wood. So it's something to be said for the older generation that put contact paper back in the bottom of the drawers, because the wood at the bottom of these drawers is in better condition than the external piece. So I've removed all the contact paper. I've sanded along here now. I'm going to have to use this kind of brush stroke on the top because of all the chips along this edge. And this part here, it took some monumental filling, and it's had a good couple of sands, so we're going to have to try and camouflage some of this with paint. I put the same moulds that's down the bottom on the top. So I think I did 2 lots, and then I just did some little leaves just to kind of, and what I'm going to do first is with Annie Sloan's Oxford Navy, which is this beautiful colour here. Yeah. I am going to do the whole piece like this. This one coat, because this is just our base coat, there's going to be a lot of different layers on this, so I'm starting dark, so this is what we're going to do all over the piece. So there's going to be a whole load of different kind of paint techniques. I might do a bit of frottage. I'm definitely going to do a little bit of dry brushing. So there'll be a lot of different things going on, but the reason why I'm stippling it on is to try and camouflage some of the dings. Okay, so I'm going to get on and I'm going to do the whole piece like this. You can tell I'm in business as well because I'm using a great big brush because it's a great big piece. So I'll get it on, do this, and we'll be back once this is dry. Okay, so I'm just going to run through the colours that I'm going to be using today. They're not all going to be used, as in I'm going to be using some of them for mixing, so it seems like there's quite a lot, but I've got, for the greens, I've got olive, and I've got Amsterdam green, and then I've got Emperor Silk, which is red, Tilton, which is yellow, Scandinavian pink, which is pink, Capri pink, I'm going to mix something out of those, and I've got some burgundy. That seems like an awful lot. This is going to be quite a layered look, so there's going to be quite a lot of layering, and once I've done the layering of paint, I'm going to do a bit of frottage first, and then I'm going to do a bit of layering, and then I'm going to be doing a bit of dry brushing, so it's kind of got all of them in it. I think that's how it's going to go down. Now, why have I got such a broad range of sort of colours here? I'll show you the transfer that's going to go on at the end. So it's one of the new IOD Iron Orchid Design transfers. It's called College de Roses, and I'll give you
That's it.
I'll give you a quick shimmy through. I won't be using
the fleurs.
oh
It's called.
fleurs.
The fleurs.
The other one's de roses, isn't it? Sorry, yes, Collage de Fleurs. There we go. So it's got some ivy. I probably won't be using that. Some roses, some cream roses, some big roses, some little forget-me-nots, some peonies, more roses, more roses. So that's what we're going to do. And the good thing about this one is, because you know I like to cut and hack up transfers, this one you can put on, it's already cut up. So we're gonna the main focus, to be honest with you, is the paint job. So we'll get the paint job done first, and then we'll move on to getting where this is all going to go. Obviously, I'm probably going to put it in here, but I was thinking of maybe opposite sides from the molds. So here and here sort of positioning. So bear that in mind when you go to do a transfer. Where is your main sort of positioning? Where's your focal? Where's your positive, your negative spaces? Where is it going to go? Because then that's going to kind of decide where your kind of paint is going to go. So, oh, sorry, Martin, I didn't mean to hit you with that.
That's
there.
okay.
Right, okay.
I'm quite robust.
You are very robust. I'll start with this door here. I'm going to kind of start with the darker sort of colours, probably around the edges. I'm not going to use them all at once, so it's not going to look... how am I applying it? I'm going to apply it with a palette knife, and then I'm going to wet it. So let's just kind of like, it's just going to give it a nicer sort of texture. I'm not going to soak it because I've got the piece up on wood, but I've got a carpet underneath here, and I really don't want a whole lot of drippy paint going everywhere. It wasn't my best. This piece is quite heavy. I got it in there and went, actually, maybe that wasn't the sort of part of the master plan. If I want to lighten this, if you just lay down your yellow beside it, obviously that'll kind of lighten some of your green. So maybe some of that there, maybe some of that up here. Just kind of mingle those together like they're friends. And then I've got two cloths here, one that I don't mind getting saturated with water, and one is a drier one. So I'm going to actually spray my cloth first. Oh, and let's kind of see what we can kind of do here. As I said, I'm kind of loath to kind of start spraying a whole load of water onto it, but obviously I'm going to. I thought maybe I could make it work without it, but I want to bring it down, and I'm using my cloth almost like a sort of paintbrush. Have you ever painted anything with a cloth? It's quite exciting. Today I just said to Matt a minute ago, I said I'm quite excited about this one because this is one where, I mean, my main thing is paint. I love paint and I love to do things with paint. So this to me is just like a free for all. You can do whatever you want with it. I'm liking this here, and I'm liking the fact that it's kind of a little bit darker around those edges. I think now I've seen that, I think I want to butt up against up here, just a tiny bit of, let's just go with it. Oh, I've got two palette knives here, so I'm not kind of muddying them up too much. It's just while that's a little bit wet, give it a little hint of, it's quite good to come back when it's wet, kind of like if you're wanting to add sort of other sort of colours. So yeah, maybe some here as well. Yeah, I want to go back with my green again though, because I'm going to come down here. Now this is kind of one of those ones where I'm going to do this whole door just so you get the idea, but then I'm going to go on and do the other three doors, probably the back and maybe the sides. But when it comes to the top, I want to show you, because we're going to have to do a few more bits of camouflaging up there, because we've still got, even though I filled that crack, I knew it was going to end up being a little bit kind of iffy. So we might have to put some collage de, what is it, fleurs?
Collage de fleurs.
It's kind of like the Scottish word, that's what we'd say, fleurs. And we're not French. Fleurs. Wow. Yeah. Some of my relatives definitely would. All right. Okay. I'm putting some of the pink in there, and I'm just gonna. And you can see what I'm doing. There's enough moisture that is ran down here. I'll put a little bit more on this side because it's a little bit dry, but there's enough moisture to kind of get it going, if you know what I mean. So it's running down. So, and let's just kind of use our cloth, because I quite like the texture that cloths do. It's not ragging. It's not quite ragging, but it's something like it. Just mute this red out a bit. Yeah. Bit more green down the bottom, I think. I've also got my spatula that I use for my moulds, because I thought that might give it some quite interesting texture as well. So, I mean, it's just nicer. It gives a different texture than applying it all with a brush. It gives you something different. Let's just kind of moisten that up a wee bit. Now, thinking of my sort of colour base, I think maybe this time round, I'm going to go back in with the yellow again, because I always think yellow with the green and the blue always really works for me, but maybe that's just me. Let's just see where we go with this. I don't like it when it's just kind of muting it and making it muddy looking. I want the separation. And some of the colours that I've got left over are going to be perfect for the sort of dry brushing. So what I don't use on this part, I'll use on the next part. Just bring that along here. I'm not going to too much go into my moulds. I'm just going to leave those just now. I'm probably going to darken this up with a darker sort of blue, maybe some bosom blue, and some. I'm just going to dip my cloth in here and see if I can do some yellow on these edges. But as I said, I'm going to dry brush here, so I don't want too much of it. Is this making sense, Martin? I feel like
Yeah.
I'm jumping about a bit. But the thing is, you're used to my ways.
I guess, yeah.
Right. There. And you can see I'm actually now painting with the cloth. I am so happy with this. I'm almost giddy. And for those that don't like people painting antiques, don't bother commenting. Just keep on going. I have nothing to say. I'll just block you. So, right. So, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, just for the record,
Here.
you know, like this piece is a prime example, isn't it? It didn't sell in the auction.
Yeah, it was.
Didn't sell again.
It was cracked.
And
it's had loads of different repairs from Martin.
The next, if we hadn't bought it, this would have gone to landfill.
I don't get to be honest with you, I don't get the furniture painters, haters, really, very occasionally. But I watch other people that do. And I have a rule, and my rule goes a little bit like this. If you're not part of my crew, then I just block you. And that's the end of that. Because I don't want negativity. I don't, you know, I just think that you wouldn't say that to me in real life. You know, I think people get awful brave when it comes to saying things on the internet, but they wouldn't say it to your face. And I just don't have time for the bad vibes, if I'm honest. I like good vibes only. Don't I, Matty?
Yep.
So I don't even give people a second chance. That's it, just blocked. Don't even bother answering them. Don't even, but I mean, I don't get it very often. So
we're very lucky.
I know I'm really fortunate.
We have a very,
all the people that follow us are
kind,
lovely and are generous and kind and are creative and are arty. You know, they want to learn. So, you know, that's okay for me. You know, that's fine. But I watch other people who do. I was reading some comments the other day on somebody, and I just thought, that's horrific. And the person that I'm talking about tried to defend themselves, but the other person that was leaving the comments was just being so cruel. And I thought, I wouldn't even engage. That would be the end of that. So anyway, you can see what I'm doing. I think this here has got too many colours on it. Try and make it look not too contrived, if you know what I mean. That was too much there. So we're just going to add a little bit more green into this. This here, especially here and around this blue, I'm really, really liking. I really like this. So let's see if I can create this again across these three. We'll come back and I'll get Matt to film a bit in the drawers. I'll do the sides, maybe a little bit on the back, and then we'll get to the top. Yeah? Okay, I thought I'd come back and show you what I'm doing in the centre of the panels. All of the details, I'm first of all dry brushing with a little bit of the Abusim Blue, which I'll show the colour in 1 minute. This is just a sort of starter to get us kind of going, this blue here. So I'm just making sure that I've got round all of this. This is Abusim Blue, so it's a sort of petrol-y, bluish colour, not like the navy. So I've got that on there, and now I'm just going to quickly, with my cloth, I'm just going to try and offload some of that paint onto my brush, because the next thing I'm going to do is, I should really be leaving this to dry in between, but I just want to kind of show you. Then what I'm doing is I'm going over with the yellows, and I'm just dry brushing along here. Now, when it's still wet, it'll get a little bit muddy, so you'll have to apply this in sort of layers. So until you get it this sort of, so you can see I've done it here, here, here. This one here needs it brightened up with the yellow. So you can just keep going back until you get where you want it to be. This sort of aperture or the moulding around this door. But that's what I'm doing on these here. So I'll just start on this one. Sorry, Matty, I'm jumping about again. Right. So that's this first coat, and I'm just going to kind of reapply this in a minute when it's dry. Dry brushing works best when it's dry. Yeah. don't worry about things like that. Just blend it out. Make it look like it's part of it. Now for the centre, I'm just going to wipe my brush again. All I did for the centres was I got the same with some blue and I kind of just rubbed it. I rubbed it about a bit first, something like maybe that. And then I wet it to help it move. In with my cloth again. And I kind of, some of it I tapped and some of it I kind of clouded. You can see on these panels here, I'll show you, I'll sit back in a minute and we'll, I'm not wanting to go too far into the edges because I want to keep this blue. This here's a little bit light. Let's just kind of, maybe a bit more water on here. Yeah. And then for a sort of lighter effect, you can kind of slightly dab in the yellow and you can do a sort of yellowy, cloudy effect if you want, and then just wipe it out of your cloth. Just make it move. Cloths are really good things to paint with. They give you really good techniques, especially if there's going to be a transfer putting over the top of them.
Is that frottage?
It's a, yeah, it is frottage, Martin, yeah, but I'm not frottaging at the moment. Frottaging is more wet and then you dab it and you can mingle, but yes.
It's like it.
It is very similar to frottage. In fact, let's just say for argument's sake it is frottage. Now, I've got my palette here, my palette knife, and let's just start putting something down into here. I've got a sort of kind of pinky colour here. And we're just kind of like giving this a little bit of a zhuzh up here. However much or however little colour you want to put in here, well, that's entirely up to you. It sets a good scene for the transfer. I was going to put the transfer here and here and here and here, but I'm not. I think I'm going to kind of put them on the centre. So this is kind of giving us a good little kind of like interest round about it. And obviously, oh, it doesn't matter if you're finished there, it gets a little bit scrapey. That's all right. I'm not bothered about that. In fact, what I did with this, can you see this door and this door? I wiped some of the paint off. So I just got my cloth and just found a part. So see here, but it's okay.
We're showing them over there.
I was showing them what it looks like. Sorry, Matt, I'm going awfully swift. It's just a wet distress. You just use your wet cloth to wipe the paint off. I would do this on the day you're painting it, though it gets slightly more difficult after a few days. But if you just put some warmer water on your cloth, you can get it to wipe off. So I'm maybe a little bit beside it. Don't want it to end up looking like it's being wiped off in a circle. You're trying to make it look like it's worn off, because when I put the transfer over that, all that sort of texture is really going to help it. Maybe a wee worn part up here. Yeah, something like that. So once you've done all that, you can then go back in with your yellow again and go back round it again, because it'll be drying, and just work around. Sorry, Mary, I'm very swift today, am I? Moving swift. So I'm kind of liking that. And then, because we've done this already with the blue, we can go and start putting our yellow onto here. Our lighter tones, remember, up and around the side. Don't paint it on like that or you'll lose all the dark colour that you managed to get underneath it. I'm sure you know all that. I'm not wanting to patronise. Let's just get some colour up and around here, because up here is done in exactly the same way as the rest. We're just putting our colours, we're wetting it, and we're letting them mingle together. And that is how I've done. Same way I did all around here. And when I've done the finish across the front in exactly the same way, when things are dry, you can come back in and do something like this. But it works really nice if you kind of do it when it's wet. Just don't get it too muddy. There's going to be some yellow up in here. A bit drier up here. Yeah, maybe some yellow here as well. around that hinge. And then I think I might water that part there down. So yeah, you get the idea. I'm frotaging, Martin.
It's not frottage,
It's frottage.
Frottage.
Right. So I'm frotaging and I am dry brushing together. Now, there might be more paint. I have another layer. Again, it's just that I want to get it as far as put in when I get to the transfer, you know, where are these going to go and things like that. So I want to really think about any other additional sort of colours or layers that I add once the transfer's on. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do the back and the two sides, and when it comes to the top, we'll come back again, because sometimes people get a bit stuck on the top surface, but it's done exactly the same way as all the other surfaces. Put the paint on where you want it, wet cloth, water, and dab it to get it to where you want it to go. Okay? Okay, so I'm working on the top now. The top isn't anything different to what you saw down below, but I'm kind of thinking of this edge and this edge as say, imagine this was your cupboard front and then there's the space in between. So I'm just kind of setting the scene first with my yellow and my green like I did down below. I've got my wet cloth. I'm going to give it a scoosh to help it move. And then I'm going to start moving it around a little bit. Now it moves differently on the top than it does on a front, so you've got to bear that in mind. You might need a little bit more water, and you just kind of work it until you get that look that you're looking for. If you think you've done too much yellow, you can just rub it in. Now I'm struggling to kind of, this time it's going to be a wee bit awkward because I need to try and camouflage as much as possible the seam down the middle where it had the repair, so I'll be working against that as well. I've done obviously the back piece, so it doesn't matter if you kind of butt that up. And obviously I painted this off of the piece of furniture. It's not actually attached, because when it goes off for a delivery, the top will be coming off it and the client can, it'll come with screws, but it's just an easier way to do it, because if you paint it first then have to remove it for delivery, then there's a part that's unpainted and it doesn't look finished for the client when the client gets it and it arrives. So just, I've discussed that before, that's just probably okay if it's going in a big truck, that's fine. Now because it's wet now, this is where you're going to get your movement, so I'm just going to start adding some of my just little accent colours like I did on the rest. But really at this stage you're not really missing a huge amount. It's just the same as I did on the fronts, and that gives it that sort of faded but textured but distressed look. And I want to try and keep some more blue on the top as well, so you know, you're just kind of getting what's on your cloth is probably enough, quite a lot, to just kind of move it around. You don't need much more than that. And we can see how I've worked from this side to this side. It's a little bit thicker in there, so let's just try and bring some of that out a bit. Move it on to over here, bring that red part down. So that is all I'm going to do pretty much with the top. Once I've done the top, I'm going to get Mark to come back and we'll start putting the transfers on. Once we put the transfers on, I might want to add some other colours. It's just that right now it's better to get the transfers on at this stage, and then you know where you're going with colours and what colours you think are going to pull it all together. But it's coming on. I mean, there isn't any right or wrong way to do this. This is whatever way you want to do it. So there's no kind of reason or rhyme to it. You just do it and see what you think. So I'm trying to camouflage the line that's going across there. So, but I don't want it to end up looking like a line. So I'm going to have to maybe be a little bit clever. Okay, that's Blell's problems for today. So I'll go and do this and problem solve this part across here, and once I've done this I'll get Martin to come back. Okay, so the front is getting closer to us putting the transfer on next, but before I do that I just want to show you, once I had did these with the yellow, I've got a tiny little bit of ochre acrylic paint. It's just a brighter shade, and I've gone over these, but I'm just, if you can see the difference between here, it's a little bit brighter, and this one, and I'm just kind of highlighting some of the outside edges just to make it a little bit brighter, just where the light hits it, just to give it another bit of depth. These things are really important. What else am I doing? I'm doing the same. I've done these molds, but I'm doing the same to bring out the details around this frame. The more layers you add when you're dry brushing, the brighter and brighter it'll get. I don't want it too bright, but you know, I want it to stand out. So I've done that around here. I've also run this. This has only had one pass along this edge. The last thing I've done is, can you see down the bottom here? Can you see the yellow paint? All I've done is put my brush on the side. So my brush is on the side, and I've ran it along to highlight there, and I can do it down. I need to put my glasses on, hang on. You can do it down all of the edges, which kind of then again sort of defines areas. It's a good wee tip. I used to do it quite a lot, just to kind of like, especially with a distressed look, it just kind of makes this part here. And if the paint comes onto here like that, that's no matter. There's that just adds to it. So just run it up there just to define there. And I've still got this aperture just to brighten up, and I'll do that, the moulding, it's not an aperture, to do that next, I'll do that. So this is how it looks currently. I'm quite happy with it, and it's had multiple layers, and there might be more paint. We just can't tell yet until we've got our transfer on. So what I've done is, I'm just going to set that to the side, because you understand I've gone round all of these. Maybe didn't have my glasses on a minute ago, I'm maybe a bit heavy there. I've done round all of the sort of edges with the yellow. So that's what I've done. Now, I've cut up some of the transfer. Now, I've still got absolutely loads of this left. I've got loads that I haven't even like touched. But what I've tried to do is get 3 or 4 flowers, all sort of kind of round about the same size for each door. So I've done, that's my pile for here, 1 for each door. So this one here, but I want a sort of layered look. So I'm going to go with the biggest one first. And I think I want to have this one just centered. But what I am going to do is, I'm going to cut these rosebuds off, and I can put them on somewhere else. I don't want it to be that they dictate where this is going. Yeah, I think this is my sort of kind of way I'm going to apply it on here, I think. So let's just get this down. I'm going to do one of these, and then you get the drill. I don't need to do all of them. So apply your transfer and get your little handy dandy transfer stick, and just start applying it. If you have never seen me do any transfers before and you're new to my channel, I have, too many to mention of transfer videos. So if you're new and you've never seen a transfer before, this is an IOD transfer. I said that in the beginning. It's the something fleurs, collage de fleurs is what it's called.
There's a whole playlist of furniture with transfers.
Is there, Maddie?
Yep.
I didn't know that. It's a good job you're organised. Right, let's have a wee look-see. So basically, you just position it, get your little tool, scrape it on, take your time. It's not, it's not a race. Make sure you got it all on nice. Finish it on, making sure that it's all nicely applied, especially in the edges. Right, so that's one on. We know that one's going to be there. Now, this yellow one, do I want to go up or here? I don't really want to cover up that leaf. So but I suppose no matter what way I'm going to do it, the leaf's going to get covered. I wish I had thought to cut that off. This is just going to take you a little bit of time to get it sort of in a sort of way that you might like it. I'm wondering if I will have it coming off like that. Yeah, let's do something like this. I just need to make sure I didn't do any of the yellow. So I'm putting it over the top of this rose like this. Just layering my transfers. And you can layer transfers. There's no reason why I can't. Now, when it's cut like this, be careful that you're not scraping back on the transfer that you've already applied. You don't want to be doing that. Now, as per usual, I'm going to go round the first part, then into that part there, then into that part there, and then this edge here. I want to get this edge done first. I always like to have the ones that go around the corners done. And there's no mystery to making it go around corners either. You just make sure that you just rub it all down. Oh, there's a little bit there I missed. And then just so that one's on. And I'm just gonna, it doesn't help if what you're burnishing on is too big. Make sure you get in all the mouldy parts. See this little part here that's got the crack in it where it bent? I will fill that a little bit with some yellow paint and I'll just blend that in so that it looks a bit more seamless. I mean, I don't see it's hugely noticeable, but it's bothering me. So, right, so that one there's on, and we're going to do, I'm gonna be clever this time, and I think if I'm doing this from now on, I'm just going to lose the leaves and put the leaves back on, because I don't really want to have to go over that one, and that makes me feel quite sad. But I think it's going to be the way it's going to have to be. Sorry, Matty. 3 hours later. I just want to just show positioning for one, and then right. Sometimes if you're struggling trying to find positioning, if you take it off your backing, you can get a better sort of idea. And I think I'm quite liking this.
Just be careful if you're doing it on glass.
Yeah, be incredibly careful if you've never done a transfer before on glass.
With your positioning.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there.
Oh, no, it's stuck. We've had that, haven't we?
A couple of times.
Yeah, you have to kind of commit. Try and get it right the first time if you're going over glass. If not, because it really does. I mean, transfers really do stick to glass incredibly
Instantly.
well. Incredibly well. So that's me done the loose edge again. Basically, that one shouldn't be scraping over that. That's the actual leaf from the other one. I managed to save a little bit of it. There's a little bit up there that I haven't got. Oh. This is the top part here. Now, where's that little part I just cut? Once you've got it this far, what to do is, you can see now my colour choices, why I picked the colours that I picked. I picked the colours that I knew that would work really well with this. There's a little bit missing there. Is it still on there? No, I think I've lost it along the way. That's fine. Don't worry, it's going to have a wee bit of a light sand. Now there's the time to go back and add any leaves that you think might need it. Do I want to have one? No, I think I'm good. I don't think I need... Do you think I need any more leaves on that, Mary? Shall we stick a bud up here so that it's got a little bit of movement? Yeah, let's stick that bud there. And I've got this one, which I brought out. I'm wondering whether I might have this coming down into here. I don't need this bit of stock. However, keep any bits of stock because you might need them for another project or for this one. I'm just showing you the positioning. Yeah, see the movement? That's the way it moves. There was another rosebud. I'm wondering whether I could just have... I will try and fix that a little bit because it's bothering me. But I'm wondering whether I might have... Yeah, I'll bring the rosebud coming out of from... It could be coming from behind there, couldn't it? Yeah. So that is my position. I'm going to go on, burnish that on, get that onto here like this. And pretty much I've got my pile for this window here. And these are my ones for this window. And this is my pile for this window. And I'll just apply it so that it's moving. And then we'll come back and we'll see what we're doing up here. I haven't told Martin this, but I've hankering for putting words up there. And I'm thinking I might have to get Martin to get the silhouette out to make me a stencil. But I'm not telling him right now. Okay, fabulous. See you in a minute. Okay, what I'm doing now is I decided to add some gold. I couldn't help it. I know. I always think when something's as beautiful as this, then you should just make it even more beautiful than it. Just keep going. So I'm putting the gold on now. Because I've got this sort of mustardy colour underneath, I want to still keep some of that. So we're dry brushing, but we're not dry brushing the whole lot. We're just kind of almost tinting it just from the edges. You've got to try and keep as much of the dark stuff as you can. So a small brush, a small a bit done brush is the best kind of brush for it. I've got my usual gold paint that I'm using. And I'm just kind of like going round and making this frame gold until I get back to my moulds again. My moulds, just making sure that they all get touched with the gold. I've not got much gold left in this jar, so it's just enough, which is just ideal for dry brushing. Bring this part of the frame out. And the rest of these here. And the same here. So you're not getting rid of the kind of mustard and you're not kind of getting rid of the blue elements. It's a kind of bit, it's a sort of hybrid. You don't want to be painting in it gold because you'll lose all your other colours that you've put underneath. And so it's a bit counterproductive. So you kind of just want to do a little bit of both. I think I'm explaining that right. Back up to the top, make sure you get in there. I don't want to get away with that. So that's how it looks like that. We're going to go along here. Try not to lose some of the colour we put underneath as well on that. You can see I've already done up here. And then the mould, you're kind of just zhuzhing up the centres. It's almost kind of like burnishing them. You're not putting gold everywhere, just some places, just to kind of make it all pop. I'll get this side when I move from the position I'm in. And once all of that is done, this is how the doors look now. Do you want me to move my head, Martin? The introduction of the gold really made it look very grand. So in my usual fashion, because I've made it look so grand, I'm now going to de-grand it. One thing I'm not going to do is, I'd say to you, no, we'll see if we need any more paint. But I think that between the florals and the colours I've got underneath in the gold, I think that is enough. It looks almost royal. Catch, I hope you're watching. It's got gold. I'll have to do the back part of the sideboard. But what I'm going to show you first is, because I know some people don't like words on things. I know Sydney doesn't like words on things. She's a channel member, but sometimes that juxtapose this and that I quite like. So I am going to put words on that back part there. And I sweet talked the lovely Martin into cutting me out a stencil with the vinyl cutter. I've got a silhouette, cameo silhouette. I don't use it very often.
Got it out, dusted it down.
Dusted it down. I can use it as well, but Martin's much better at me with the old lettering. So I've got the word brocante, French word for kind of like a flea market. So an antique kind of place where you might be advertising your wares on top of this beautiful piece of furniture. I was thinking street corners, had it all planned in my head, and I thought, that would be nice. But typical fashion, because we don't use the silhouette very often, this is the only transfer tape I've got. If you've got one of these at home, you know you need the transfer tape to transpose it onto there. So I'm going to I'm not going to make you watch all of this. If you know what, I'm not even going to explain what a silhouette is. It cuts out vinyl. You can
silhouette, Cricut.
Yeah, it's just that they're all the same thing. You can either cut out the letters if you want vinyl letters to stick on things, or you can do it the opposite way around, which Martin has done, and we did it and picked out all the letters so that I can make a stencil out of it. So I'm going to go on and I'm going to apply it to the back. I'm going to do the gold first, up round the mould, apply the word, and then we'll come back for me to stencil it, because I mean, you don't need to see me transfer it. I mean, there's loads of videos out there for if you want to get into cutting with vinyl cutters. I've never had a Cricut, but I have had the silhouette, and I mean, I don't use it very often, but when I used to use it a lot, and I used to really like it. It's just that sometimes you're looking for something in particular, and this is what I was looking for. So, right.
It's a good tool to have in the armoury.
It's something to have. But it's not necessary. You could just get a big stencil. My stencils, I thought the IOD stamps were going to be too small, because they're about this size for the capitals, and my stencils were all too small, and they looked a little bit too... The stencils I've got are more like sort of packing crate stencils, and I thought, even though I'm trying to counterbalance this words with this, I thought I still need something with a sort of nicer font. So I'm going to go and put that on. I'm going to do the gold at the top. We'll come back, we'll stencil this, because then we're going to put some flowers either side of the word brocante, and I'm still toying with handles. I'm not quite sure. Okay, so I've got my vinyl stencil applied. I've got my gold on my stencil brush, and now what I'm going to do is, I have to be careful because I've cut it quite short up here. I am going to stencil the word brocante in gold. I'll probably let this one dry and go back over it and do 2 coats, just so that it's nice. And will I distress this lettering? I'm not quite sure yet. I just want to see what it looks like sharp first, and we'll see how we go from there on in. I just need to put a little bit more. I'm putting just a little bit of gold on the paper, just a tiny little amount, and then just kind of offloading it so that I don't have too much paint on my stencil brush. So I am going to go on and stencil this twice with the gold, and then we'll come back and we'll pull it off and we'll see what we think.
See if we manage to get it straight.
I did enlist Martin on this one. I know it doesn't look straight, that's just the paper underneath, but I just didn't want I needed them. So it should be fine.
Back in a minute.
Okay, so I'm just going to peel the vinyl off now. I'm going to peel it gently. My paint finish has been sitting most of the night. Well, a whole 24 hours really, maybe more than that. So up here should be fine pulling off the vinyl. Just going to throw it down. I just don't want it to stick to anything. You can get weeding tools, but they're in the kitchen. I think whether you like typography on things or not, I think this was a nice idea. Something a little bit different. I haven't done words on furniture for a while. I used to do it all the time. I think this will be quite nice. And we're going to put flowers at the edges and some flowers at the top of the mould. So let's just get this on quicker. The top still isn't attached, so I'm kind of trying to hold on to the top as well. A bit down there. Sorry, concentrating. You could always fast forward this, Matt.
I don't know. There's something quite satisfying about it.
There is. It's always that way, isn't it? You find the weeding satisfying.
I do. I like the really complicated ones that take some real weeding.
Do you remember our floor? We decided to make Moroccan tiles with the silhouette, and the prepping was fine, the painting was fine. See, pulling off all the tiny little bits. Oh,
It was we decided in our infinite wisdom that it was going to be a really complicated design. It was going to look really good, you know.
it's too complicated. So that's how it looks so far. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these flowers onto here. So I'm going to have one here and one kind of coming down onto the furniture here. So let's just do one side, just so you know what I'm doing. So I really kind of want it up onto there. Let's just do this part first. It's an awkward way to do it. I just want to put this part up onto here first. Get that up into the corner. And then I always quite like things that go right round the edges. I think it always looks really finished. I'm scared this video is like 3 hours long.
This whole section is only 4 minutes long.
Oh, okay. That's all right then. It's the 20 minutes each other section though. I'm kind of rushing, but oopsie, I've lost a bit of loop here. That's what you get for rushing. Where does it go? I'll do this side first. There we go. Still a bit missing. Right, I'll come back and burnish this in a minute. I just wanted to show you the positioning of the other one. I'm going to do something like, don't want them both going the same way, like this. I think something like this is going to be the positioning. I'm going to have to be really careful here because the furniture.
Yeah, I think I should put the screws back on before you do that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, we'll go ahead and we'll do that. Okay, so I've got a very fine grit sandpaper and I'm starting to sand the transfers. I don't want the transfers to look plasticky once it's been sealed. So I'd rather they kind of sat back as opposed to stood out. Same with the gold lettering. I'm doing a little bit of distress and taking it down to the bare wood to make this look a little bit more sort of genuine. You know, if it was aged, it wouldn't be as crisp and clear as this. So I'm just doing that just now, just kind of making sure that I've kind of, you know, make it look a bit older. Yeah. So I've done that along here, and I've done this transfer. I can see a bit here that I haven't sanded. So the only part I've got to do down here, which is this part, because I've done these two doors. These have been sanded. You can see the difference between what's been sanded and what hasn't. This is very much in your face. It's bright. It's there. If you like this look, don't bother with the sanding. That's it without the sanding. This is it with the sanding. With this sanding, it looks a little bit more aged and it looks in keeping with the piece. So that's why I'm doing that. Now, I always find just a tiny little bit is all you need. And I kind of work on the edges first. And I just kind of go around in a wee circle if I want transfers to kind of sit back a bit. And this up here. And then I start working on these edges and I just go in tiny, tiny little circles. It's just enough to kind of like knock it back a bit. Go around the edges of this one first. Now you don't want to sand your transfers with anything heavy because it'll just turn white. You'll just sand all the colour off it. So see that one look there? Now I'm going to kind of go up and down it. I'm not leaning very hard. Just like that. And that's probably enough for there. Again, back around my edges. It just gets rid of the tells. I mean, yeah, people will know it's a transfer and I'll be telling people it's a transfer. And this video will be how to apply a transfer. But the thing is, when you sell it, you want it to look like it's genuine. So, and this is another way of just kind of like knocking things back a little bit so they're not just in your face. So that's it. That is all I'm going to do. Remember the little kind of bits that come off the edges. So that one's been done now too. This one's been done. This one's been done. The flowers up the top have been done. The gold's been sanded on the lettering. I might do a little bit more of that at the moment. It's looking a little bit kind of splodgy. Next thing I'm going to do is seal it. And I've just said to Martin, I think we've agreed that I'm going to wax this piece. I'll have to wax it twice, so I'll have to wax it and let it dry again. handles. I was going to put fancy handles on it. In fact, I got them out and I was looking at them. But these are the drawers that you pull from underneath. And the keys open the thing. And I don't think it needs something here because it's got all of that there. I think just leave that alone. These colours speak for themselves and they coordinate with down here, down there. Up here coordinates with up there. And I think that's all it needs. There is an awful lot of gold and there's an awful lot going on, so it doesn't need much more than that. So I'll be using Annie Sloan's clear wax, just in a wax brush, waxing it. And the next time you see this, it'll be staged out. Okay, so it's finished. What did we do? We applied a base coat first. I know that people always ask, does it have to be dark? It can be any colour. Your base coat can be absolutely any colour. It just depends what you're looking to achieve. You can start lighter and go dark, or you can go dark and go light. Put a base coat on, which was a navy blue, and then we just literally added paint with a palette knife, and I painted this piece with a cloth. I just painted it with a cloth, that's it. And then once it was dry, I applied my transfers and then I waxed it. Oh, I forgot, I put the Veridus molds round the, what do you call this?
Well, we call them apertures.
No, that's the aperture. What's this? The frame.
Frame.
Round the frame. So the gold. So that went round the frame. We did quite a lot of sort of mustard, sort of ochre, old ochre, sort of yellow before we applied our gold. Our gold was just water-based gold paint. Did use the silhouette for the words, and that is it. That is how easy this is. It was a very simple one to do. So there you go. It's all staged out. For those that are brand new to my channel and have never seen me in here, this is my stable. This is my studio. This is where I work. I normally work here all the time, but obviously I've been working in the house over the winter. So I've managed to, this thing looks like this when it's got words and things are difficult to stage. So I brought it over here to stage it against my really nice wall and put some flowers above it just so that it wasn't covering it up. So always think about your staging when you're doing something like that. Is it going to obscure what you've done? So that's it for today. I've been Lel and I've got the lovely Martin here. Martin, do you have anything to add to this?
I say the same thing every week.
Don't tell me, it's great.
It's awesome,
Okay.
darling.
Oh, it's awesome.
Look at it. It's fantastic. I really I love it. You're a genius.
Okay, so we'll see you again next Sunday. If you've liked this video, don't forget to give us a like and share it if you want to share it with somebody. Leave me a comment. I get back to all. I'm still answering every single person's comment, so I'll answer you if you've got any questions or you just want to say hello. And the most important thing is, please don't forget to subscribe. If you've been watching me for a while now and you kind of quite like me and you think, I could get to like her, you know, I'm going to stick with her, don't forget to subscribe. So Marty, the lovely Martin, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.